I am pumped because this Sunday, we're celebrating International Women's Day, y'all. Now, I know there are guys out there thinking, oh, International Women's Day? Why don't we have an International Men's Day? God bless you, Twitter. Well, you're in luck, because you do. It's actually on November 19th. But you wouldn't know that because you're too busy celebrating it every other day of the year. Also, fun fact, November 19th is also International Toilet Day. Now, I'm not saying men are toilets, but both holidays are mostly catered towards a bunch of white Johns.
Does anyone else see the irony here? Or does it happen so frequently that it's no longer considered irony? Much of Lilly Singh's humor is centered around racism and sexism. Her statements are all about how she doesn't like those activities being carried out on her people, so I keep asking myself, if you don't like racial slurs or jokes being done at your expense, then why did you open up your monologue by calling white men a bunch of toilets? Talk about leading by example. And she has the audacity to shout things like "One Love,"
One Love, Lilly, that is a rap, and
which is an expression of acceptance of all races, at the end of her YouTube videos. Hey YouTube, why hasn't this racist been banned for hate speech? This is one of your top 10 female YouTubers, and she commits hate speech against white men on your platform all the time. She's openly racist in many of her videos, but I guess YouTube simply hasn't noticed yet. Maybe the reason for that is they can't tolerate Lilly Singh enough to actually make it through one of her videos. Lilly is yet another talentless performer who seems to have just slipped through the cracks all the way to the top of the charts. Now I want to stress that there is no magic or luck in media. Everyone is where they are for a reason. It's just that in this case, Lilly is not where she is because she's actually good at what she does. If you don't believe me, then just watch one of her videos, because over the years, I've watched quite a bit of her content for different reasons, and not once has she ever made me laugh. And it's not because I don't like her values. There are plenty of comedians out there who I disagree with that have also made me laugh. It's because her content and delivery is absolutely terrible. I can understand if she was a new YouTuber, but she has been on the platform for 9 years. Compare that to Sneeko, a stand-up comedian who has been on YouTube for 6 years, and though he used to suck, now he's really good. That's because he took his time and actually practiced.
Yeah, I'm from New York, as you said. That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you. Walking around LA, it's cool, but I realize I kind of look like a handsome lesbian. You're not supposed to laugh at that.
So we have to ask ourselves that if Lilly isn't talented, and again, if you don't believe me, I challenge you to laugh at just one of her videos. If she isn't talented, then why does she get so many views? Well, for one, even though she has the fashion sense of Billie Eilish, Lilly is attractive. And there's no greater predictor of success without talent than attractiveness. Second, she is popular for the same reason that T-Series is popular. There are 1 billion people in India, and she is an Indian YouTuber who talks about a lot of Indian cultural issues. That places her in a niche market where she likely has no competitors. Third, her comedy appeals to children, and children have no taste. You can see those last two play out because when you see her on American television as a nighttime host, an audience that is not predominantly children or Indians, her viewership plummets.
Now, one thing I'm proud of is that I actually employ a lot of women on this show. In fact, half of my writers are women. Yes!
Yeah, you need to fire all of your writers regardless of their gender. Their material is awful, and they're just using canned jokes that are over a decade old. Lilly's success without talent has led to a profound sense of narcissism. She has completely relied on inherited features instead of putting actual effort into growing her skill. And why would she do that? Why would she fix something that in her mind is not broken? Now, that doesn't mean she doesn't work hard. People who restock shelves at a grocery store work hard. This is not a question of hard work, because working hard is not good enough. What it means is that she spends zero time looking at herself critically or learning new things, and when you put no investment into learning new information, you say stupid stuff like this.
And yes, and I need to say this is a fact again, there is a wage gap between women and men in the workplace.
Now, I'm no expert on Lilly's entire catalog, But as I was researching your channel, I noticed that she did a few of her videos multiple times. Like she created all of her good content a bunch of years ago, and now she's just repeating old material because she doesn't want to think of anything new, or because she hasn't developed as a person. I can only imagine that this is why she's still talking about the wage gap in 2020, because women getting paid less than men for doing the exact same work is not a fact. However, what is a fact is that it's been illegal to pay women in the US less than men for gender-based reasonings for decades. If there was actually any cases of this, feminists would be suing companies like crazy and then blabbing about it everywhere. I mean, look at your own monologue. You already have the answer.
Another important issue to talk about is maternity leave. Did you know, this is true, y'all, the US is the only first world country that doesn't have guaranteed maternity leave. Yeah.
And there it is. For the millionth time, a primary reason that women get paid less than men with similar jobs is because women take time off to care for children. Essentially what you are saying is that you want to not work, but still get paid. What happened to having a savings account so you can take off work without financial stress? What about finding a good husband who will take care of the finances instead of having kids with the deadbeats? The only women who need government forced leave are single mothers who can't build strong relationships, meaning they shouldn't be parents, and women who don't know how to save money. So I guess we'll just offload that irresponsibility onto the employer, right?
According to Wikipedia, International Women's Day is only an official holiday in 26 countries. And wait for it, the US is not one of them. That's right. I feel like not enough people know about International Women's Day.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware that being notified by literally every business wasn't enough promotion. But these are the ideas of Lilly Singh. How's that working out for you? Oh, wait, your show's a failure. Outside of being destitute single parents, how is this narcissism working for women in general? Well, Women's Day is internationally celebrated, so here's an international story.
So women across Latin America marked International Women's Day by protesting the rise of violent acts against women in what they have labeled femicide. In Uruguay, Brazil, and Peru, women called for justice as many murders go unsolved. Protesters in Mexico are taking it a step further today. They are calling for a day without women. Nationwide, women are being urged not to shop, not to attend work, or leave their homes in an attempt to show the country just what life would be like without them.
That's your threats? Okay, so we're not going to shop for one day. I keep thinking, where are all the men's marches? Oh, right. Men don't do that because they're too busy working. Imagine a day where men didn't go to work. Have fun not having electricity or hot water because the power company and gas company will be shut down. Oh, and don't forget, cell phone towers run off electricity too, so you won't be able to use your phones. What a joke. The best thing that can happen in this situation is people realize how few essential jobs are dominated by women. And all this marching for what?
In Mexico alone, an average of 10 women are killed a day.
Now, of course, murder is awful just as any physical or sexual violence, but I'm really curious as to why they didn't show the overall statistics on murder in Mexico. I think I may have the answer. In 2018, Mexico had 33,000 murders, and in 2019, they were on pace for 35,000 murders. Let's do some math. 10 murders a day for women is 3,650 murders per year. Let's take the 2018 numbers because that's more confirmed, which would be 3,650 murders for women and 29,350 murders for men. In Mexico, men are murdered 8 times more than women are. So why are they only protesting for women when the numbers are so much higher for men? Why don't they just protest all murder? What they're saying is that it only matters when a woman is killed and they don't care at all when men die. By the way, they aren't just walking in the streets. They are full-on rioting. Anyone want to say that women aren't violent? Check this out. Here's some footage of women during the protest trying to break into this gate. You can also see that they managed to set something on fire. Here are women taking hammers and bashing some guy's window in. Here are women vandalizing property. All in the name of stopping violence. Do I have to point out the extreme irony in this situation? You can't solve violence with violence. Breaking windshields and vandalizing property is not going to get your message heard. All it's going to do is create a riot that the police will have to respond to with the very violence you're claiming you want to prevent. Violence will never solve violence because it always creates a winner and a loser. The only way to stop violence is to create a win-win situation instead of a win-lose situation, which means you have to exchange value and not force. Otherwise, the losing side will always feel like they are missing out and will eventually respond with violence as an act of rebellion. Yelling and screaming or throwing Molotov cocktails is not going to get them what they want. This whole situation started because the media in Mexico ran two stories. One, where 25-year-old Ingrid Vargas was brutally murdered by her husband, and two, a 7-year-old Fatima Anton was abducted and killed. Now, the media could have used this horrible situation to maybe talk about the importance of vetting your partner before you get married, or they could have discussed strategies to keep children from getting kidnapped. But they didn't. Instead, the media reports this story in a way that incited a full-on riot. Stuff like this makes me glad to know that as time goes on, eventually no one will be watching mainstream news anymore, because all of this back-patting and misreporting hasn't led to anything good. The mainstream media has been patting women on the back for decades now. For years, they've said things like, "There. Aren't you glad you spent $40,000 on a degree so you can get minimum wage in an unrelated field? You are going to feel so good when you wave your finger and tell all the other cashiers about how educated you are. And don't worry, you're fine just the way you are. You don't ever need to make any improvements." All this ego boosting has to stop. It's time to be less cocky. It's time people had a little less self-esteem and go back to the drawing board. How do you think Lilly Singh's woke staff is going to feel when they lose their jobs because their ratings are terrible? Do you think they're going to call themselves strong and independent then? If Lilly wants to go on about how great she is and how terrible men are, then think about this. If she had spent the smallest bit of effort doing stand-up in front of a live audience and getting feedback from real people in the past 9 years, then she might have been able to save these people's jobs. Let that sink in for a second. She's going to be fine with her millions of dollars while her staff is going to be unemployed. She should be ashamed of herself. And by the way, low self-esteem is not such a terrible thing. All it is your brain telling you that you're not getting the results that you want, so it's time to improve. That way you do get the results that you want. And none of that's going to happen if you give up or deny your problems in favor of your ego. All of this movement against low self-esteem is not a good thing. Low self-esteem is there to tell you that things in your life are going wrong and it's time to fix them. Ignoring that mental state instead of using that as a motivator to solve your problems is only going to make you miserable. There are plenty of strong, independent women out there who fit that description, so learn from their mistakes. And with that said, that will be enough for this video. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, comment and share. If you would like to support this channel, then you can do so with PayPal, Subscribestar, or Patreon. All of those links are in the description or on my channel page. Last, if you haven't checked me out on Bitchute yet, that link is also in the description or on my channel page. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.